In 1967, my mum was born. Her mum, my nan, was 20 at the time. She got pregnant after a fling with a bar manager working at a Butlins holiday resort in Skegness. They didn't stay together. Back then, it was a common practice for young single mothers to give their newborn babies up for adoption. However, due to the introduction of social securities offered to young mothers, my nan was adamant in keeping her child. My nan went to college, got her qualifications. Soon she started moving around the country, finding work where she could as a maths teacher. She eventually changed course and became a computer programmer, soon finding herself working for Rolls-Royce. This is when my nan and mum moved to Bristol. They spent 4 years there in total, from when my mum was 8 years old to 12. This is the longest they stayed in one place. Constantly moving around was hard. For a little girl, finding and keeping friends wasn't always a comfortable process. Like many single children, my mum liked the idea of having another sibling, specifically an older brother, though her choice was odd.
When I look back on it, I think basically what I wanted was Donny Osmond to be my big brother.
But her desire to have more family never left her. In 1987, my mum got pregnant. She was 20, the same age as her mum when she was pregnant. She was excited. She knew she wanted to have children. Despite being only 20, it was something she was ready for. Little girls play with baby dolls all the time, playing mother. But for my mum, it was different. All she had for the last 20 years was her own mum. But you don't choose your parents. She wanted a relation of her own making. The biological father did not want to be involved. My brother was born. He grew up with my mum in a council estate flat in North London. She was on benefits before finding a job at the job centre. He was throwing plates out of the kitchen window to see if they would fly. He was named Luke. She will claim it's not entirely to do with the fact that she's a fan of Star Wars, but, well, whenever she wasn't working, she would put all her time into raising my brother, making sure he was happy. He was walking at 8 months, self-taught himself to ride a bike at 2 years old. Despite the effort she put into his upbringing, his inability to focus and pay attention at school was once put down to the fact that he was a single-parent child living in an estate. Later, when he was an adult, he would be officially diagnosed with ADHD. When my mum was 23, my brother still a toddler, she met our dad. They were helping at the same youth theatre workshop. He was a young, out-of-work writer. She instantly had a crush on him.
I just thought he was absolutely gorgeous. He was kind of bright and funny.
He came from a Jewish family with lots of cousins. Initially, it seemed as if she was entering into a larger multi-generational family, something she never had. But they weren't the most emotionally giving family. Never worked at it. So the idea of a larger family dispersed, as did the family's younger generation as they grew up. My brother soon grew fond of our dad, soon calling him and treating him like his one and only dad, because he is. After 3 years of dating, they moved in together and eventually bought a house. In 1995, my mum and dad got married. In 1997, I was born, asleep, high, and that was it. For 20 years. Her mum, my dad, my brother, and me. We were her family. She maybe would have liked more kids, but my parents never actively tried again. As I joined youth groups, she joined as a leader, becoming loved by the other kids. She joined theatre groups and social clubs, creating and weaving little unrelated families of her own. Then, in the summer of 2018, she received a letter. A half-sister. From the father she never knew. Maggie Smith. Not that one. Younger and from Birmingham. And so too did I have an aunt. I had cousins my age. And I had a mum who wasn't just my mum anymore. For years your parents are just your parents. They don't exist until you're born. They look after you, raise you, make sure you don't die, and love you. You're their story, but then you reach an age and something happens. I was 1 year older than my mum was when she was first pregnant when I saw the complicated looks in her eyes after first reading the letter. I saw the joy in her smile after she met her sister in person for the first time. I saw emotions 50 years in the making. I saw a life that wasn't just my mum's. It was Teresa Poland's.